And yeah, really looking forward to sharing with you more about the journey that you could be potentially taking with us on the CIAIRI AI Skills Bootcamp. So, Michelle, what else has been happening? You've been speaking to a lot of data scientists lately.
Some. So yeah, I will be. I'm going out to Curtin. They have a WA Data Science and Innovation Hub, and we're going to do the AI Fundamentals with them there. They have 75 of them already signed up to do it. And if they like it, then we might take them further on the journey, do some data, and yeah, maybe do the data science associate one, which it is much harder. My brain really really struggled with that one, and when I was doing the exam, I was halfway through and I thought I should just give up now. I'm going to fail. But then the only thing that stopped me giving up was the idea that if I walked out of the exam halfway through, I would have to continue studying that and have to come back in and do the exam again. And so I carried on, and luckily I passed.
Much better, much better. Well, I think we're up to 33 attendees and we're going to kick off. Welcome to the AI Skills Bootcamp information session. Today it's going to be presented by myself and Michelle. I am the Deputy Director at CIAIRI within RMIT, which is the Centre for Industrial AI Research and Innovation. I joined RMIT after spending some time at Microsoft, where Michelle and I got to work together, working across the whole digital transformation of some key accounts, and also where I became an AI ambassador. But right now I'm at RMIT and we're really excited to bring this event to you. Michelle, did you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your role?
Yeah, my name is Michelle Sandford. I am a emerging developer lead at Microsoft, and that means I get to do a lot of work with student communities and also with the data science and AI community, because even though there have been data scientists around for a really long time, they weren't necessarily calling themselves data scientists before. And also they weren't considering themselves technologists. They were domain experts who would, do really a lot of research into various fields and be the expert in that domain knowledge, I guess. And it's only recently that we start to realize how useful we can be to them, helping them automate stuff, use machine learning, use AI from Azure in the cloud. And so therefore I am there to help and to encourage them to talk to us and to help people learn and see how easy it is to do stuff. Whereas in the old days, yeah, they would really have to do a lot manually. So.
Well, we're really excited about what you're going to share with us today, and I'm just going to walk through the agenda. So obviously the AI Bootcamp starts on the 31st of January. It goes for 3 weeks. You can register, and we're going to tell you a lot more deeply about what you'll actually get out of the AI Skills Bootcamp. And so we're going to do that by sharing, what you will learn, some of the benefits of the AI Bootcamp, how the accreditation can increase employability. And we're also really lucky to have Sean Lee join us today to give us a bit of the course highlights. Sean, did you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you do at RMIT?
Yeah, very briefly. So I'm a director of analytics at RMIT. I don't teach. I'm not a professor or an academic. So my team actually delivers analytics services to RMIT. And one of the things that I'm doing this year is setting up something called the Data Innovation Hub. So it's really placing students with internships with our industry partners. And as part of this program, we want to institute a bootcamp as well. So that's where we've come together with CIAIRI to work on this bootcamp program. And we want our Innovation Hub candidates as well as selected students to go through this, because I think it's really good for your futures. But also we're going to be inserting a few things along the way to kind of provide more practical kind of seminars around what it is to work as a data scientist or data engineer or data analyst. So more on that later.
Excellent. And I just want to do a shout out to Andy for producing this event. Andy Song, Professor Andy Song, thank you so much. All right, we're off and running. So let's start off by talking about what are the accreditations you get when you join the CIAIRI AI Skills Bootcamp. So the first one you can do is called Azure Fundamentals. It's all about cloud computing. It doesn't need any prerequisites. Myself, I've done the Azure Fundamentals, and it kind of changed a lot of what I knew about how to use the Azure portal, how to add services, how to create accounts, how to secure your accounts, and how to use cloud. And that is actually a course that takes about 27 hours to do, and can really open up a whole new world for you. Michelle, did you want to add anything around that?
In Microsoft, every single person in the entire company has to do the Azure Fundamentals. It's like really the base from which we start. And it doesn't matter whether you are a technical person or whether you're in marketing or in sales or, you know, even in some sort of operational administrative role, they have everyone do it because they think that getting the fundamentals and understanding this and the concepts behind it are really critical to everything that we do. So it is a really good one if you want to already position yourselves for a role in industry, to say you've already got those basics, you've already put yourself through this learning path, and you understand not just the technical side, but the business strategy, the whys behind implementation, all of that. So yeah, it is a really, really good one. It's not in any way easy, but also it's not too hard if you stay calm. You have to just, you know, work your way through it and have a logical mind. And if you don't know, make a well-reasoned guess.
And it's actually, you're right, it's a very interesting one, because I know, you know, a lot of organizations won't even let you touch their cloud platform unless you have this accreditation. It also allows you to walk into businesses and be able to, you know, understand some of the business reasons why cloud exists. So it is a really good one. All right, so that's Azure Fundamentals, and we're going to do a recap around all of them, but that's the first accreditation you can do across the bootcamp. And I know we've got a lot of students on the line. If you've got any questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A. So we've got the first question is, will the bootcamp be appropriate for new students? I think you'll be fine if you're a new student. So it'll just be a great way to bootstrap you, get you ready. And it means that you can start using some of the cloud scenarios in what you're doing today. So yeah, so I think it's a really good one. So the next one that we've got on offer as part of the bootcamp is the Azure AI Fundamentals. So this is where you learn about AI, like what it is, what defines it, the machine learning, like you can start to use Azure ML and actually show you an example of, and I'll get Michelle to tell you what the example is, because she knows this one much better than I do. Natural language processing, so you'll start to see a lot of that groovy stuff that, you know, where people, you know, you can get the language to be understood and to be transcribed. And this one's about 30 hours. So Michelle, I'd love you to add some more details around this Azure AI Fundamentals.
So in my opinion, this is absolutely the best and the most interesting and the funnest one to do. Rita does not agree with me. She has her own preference, but I really love this one. I think every part of it, the learning path was interesting. You got to see stuff. You want to see stuff immediately that you could implement. So the custom vision stuff, you can do things in Azure Custom Vision that take I don't know, it takes less than 15 minutes to upload some photos and to use the machine learning to train the model. And yeah, I do have an example of that we'll show you at some point during this. That was super fun for me to build. I've also got, so see this robot car that I have behind me here. This has an Azure Percept device in there, which does object detection on the edge of the cloud. So on this side of the cloud, that's not inside the cloud. And the object detection is something that you can learn within this learning path, like really, it's really like directly in there. And yeah, building that and building the other thing that I built that I'll talk about are, yeah, like really fun examples. This one was, we trained it to avoid Lego cones, but I was also training it to avoid Lego men, but then my colleague secretly trained it to kill the Lego men. So we had to comment out that code because it was a bit disturbing to see the screen coming up with kill Lego men, kill Lego men, kill Lego men. But yeah, you can have a lot of fun with the things that you learn in this pathway, but you can also use them in a really practical, implementable way. I do want to look back to where...
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just ask one more question before we go into your example? In terms of the machine learning, what's some examples of some of the machine learning that they'll get to use? Like regression, clustering.
You learn all about that. So those are all keywords that when you're doing your exam, if you can tell the difference between, like literally, whenever you see the word historical, they're generally talking about regression. And if there's an example where they're saying this or that, they're talking about classification. And well, what's interesting about the learning path is it will give you lots of examples so that you can fix in your mind what all these long words mean. And yeah, where people were asking, is it appropriate for new students? Yes, there are 15 and 16-year-olds that have done these exams. There are no prerequisites, no, absolutely.
Well, let's go to your example because I love this story, Michelle. I'm going to drive the slides for you, all right? So we're going to start with the first slide. So who are these guys?
Okay, so these are my puppies, but the most common thing that happens when I say that these are my puppies is people look at them and they say, those are not puppies. So next slide, Rita. Those are not puppies, those are clearly Ewoks. And I thought this is actually something that people need to know if the furry creatures in their house are pets or predators. I don't know how familiar you are with the Star Wars films, but many people assume that Ewoks are little cuddly teddy bears. However, in some of those Star Wars episodes, the Ewoks are pictured trying to roast, I think it's Hans Solo over an open fire. This is not the action of kind creatures, and so therefore your life is in your hands when you are dealing with Ewoks, and so it is important to know, are they Ewoks or are they puppies, because the difference might be life or death. And in fact, there are a lot of things that look like other things. So on the next slide, you can see there are kittens, often look like caramel ice cream. Puppies look like bagels. Owls look like apples, and vice versa. And so this is classification in machine learning and custom vision. And it's important to know to be able to tell what is the difference, and you can use the tools to do that. Here, Snickers, here's we are talking about her, so she wants to know what is that. So I built an app that would look at furry creatures, and it would tell me whether they are in fact Ewoks or are they puppies with some level of confidence. So the thing with machine learning is that it's not going to say for certain this is a puppy or this is an Ewok. It will give you a sort of percentage confidence that it thinks it is one or the other. So this was the machine learning in the Azure Custom Vision that you can train. And I put up images of Shih Tzus and I put up images of Ewoks, and I trained it to recognize the difference. And then I built a PWA app, a progressive web app. This is not something you will learn in the bootcamp, but if you're interested to do it, then I have an extra thing afterwards that you can join that will continue you on your journey. So this is what the app looked like on my phone. Now, it's a little bit unfair because what we have here is Shih Tzus that are dressed as Ewoks in 3 of those pictures. And so we are trying to trick the AI with this. So those first 2 are Shih Tzus dressed as Ewoks, and the next one is a picture of an Ewok, and then the next one is a Shih Tzu dressed as an Ewok, and the last one is an Ewok. And you can see that it's done pretty well there. It was like 100% sure that that's a Shih Tzu, trying to trick it, 96% Shih Tzu, 4% confidence it's an Ewok, which is fair because you know it's standing on 2 legs. And then yes, 100% Ewok is correct. Next one, 92%. That's also a very good interpretation because it is not just dressed as an Ewok, but it's holding like a stick thing. And in many of the pictures of Ewoks that we gave it for training, they were all holding sticks. And so it's pretty clever that the machine learning was able to pick that out. And then the final one, 90% 10. Well, I suppose the 10% might come from the fact that it is not a real live Ewok. It is clearly some sort of cuddly toy or something. So yeah, but and that web address is the app address that I have up there. So it doesn't cost a lot actually to use the machine learning in Azure. What costs more is the running of the app itself. So if you all hit that app, it will, my Azure will start dramatically dropping, I think. But it's not too expensive. Yeah, it's using a few dollars a month, really.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle. That was such a fun way to learn about custom vision. And I'm sure you guys will find guys and girls will find lots of great examples to use in that Azure AI Fundamentals. The next one that we want to talk about is the data fundamentals. And Michelle did mention this is personally my favorite. So it means that you can have database concepts in the cloud. So you don't need to install databases. You can actually start to, take data and build basic cloud data skills. And this certification takes you 27 hours, but super exciting because it means, if you've got fundamentals and data fundamentals, you can walk into an organisation and successfully start to use their data to deliver a whole range of different solutions. Michelle, did you want to add anything about this one?
So I think this one is useful in that if you're interested in data science, in fact, if you're interested in any sort of AI, you need data fundamentals. You need to understand how you are going to store your data, how you're going to transform it, how you're going to clean it, what different options there are for displaying it, for making it useful in dashboards. There's all sorts of stuff that you do with the data. Well, without the data, you can't really do any of the AI stuff. You need to have something to do something with. So although I find it less interesting than the other one, it is really key. And it is, as you say, really useful. People in industry value this one very highly. I think it should be a prerequisite step to the data scientist associate one, but I think only the Azure Fundamentals one is a prerequisite. But I think it is, in terms of what you really need, it will help you prepare for that next level of exam better than any other. I see. I see some people saying, do they have to do the Azure Fundamentals before they do the AI Fundamentals? And no, you don't. All of them are independent. You do not need to do any before any. So in this bootcamp, you can choose the one that interests you now. All of them are really good. All of them are really key. So it's a matter of preference.
Let's do a quick summary so you can get a feel of what we're talking about. So cloud computing, which we just talked about, is 27 hours, and it'll give you confidence to use the cloud, as well as be able to talk about why we need cloud computing in our digital transformations. The Azure AI Fundamentals, which was Michelle's favourite, will give you AI, ML, computer vision and natural language processing. That takes about 30 hours. And the Azure Data Fundamentals will give you a database in the clouds. It's recommended that you don't do all of them unless you're really, really into it. It's going to take a lot of commitment, 90 hours over 3 weeks. But we recommend 1 or 2 during this boot camp, and potentially we will be rerunning these. All sessions will be recorded, so you can come back and do it, and we'll come back to you on whether we'll run the exams as well.
Rita, I would just say, because you always say it about databases in the cloud, and I would say that it's not. I mean, yes, there are databases in the cloud, but there's Azure Data Factory, there's data lakes, there's all sorts of other components, not just the database part.
Thank you for making that clear. So it's about learning about different ways of accessing data beyond the database type stuff.
And I do think all of those other things are really cool. Data Factory, Data Lake, Data Synapse, even Power BI. All of these things are very interesting ways to interact with the data, to clean it, to transform it. And it's not just, it's not just about SQL. It's not even about SQL.
All right. And I just wanted to give one industry example of where, construction's such a massive area and what's happening in Victoria at the moment. And so much is possible once you've got this AI capability to be able to bring the data in and use the cloud. And so, things like concrete detection, being able to understand worker motion recognition, equipment activity. So there's so much potential of what's possible when you start to dig down into the possibilities of what you're learning. So I'd like to, so the benefits are, for us, AI fundamentals, data fundamentals are the fastest way to get you building AI, and using computer vision and natural language processing is really cost effective. I love when Michelle explains that traditionally a lot of these technologies are a bit expensive, but with Azure they can be quite more cost effective. Did you want to add anything further around that, Michelle?
They were asking in the chat there, do we know how long the qualifications are valid? The fundamentals ones do not expire. I've noticed that associate ones last for 2 years, but the fundamentals ones don't expire. However, when you do your learning path, it will give you a sort of percentage complete. And, as you're logged into Microsoft Learn, you can see that. But then when you go back in a few weeks' time, you'll see it's no longer at 100%, even though you finished everything. That's because they update the materials and put the new stuff in. And so it will show you what you need to go in order to keep yourself up to date. And one of the things that will make you an attractive candidate to industry is having that continuous learning mindset and being able to demonstrate that you are always learning, and that you are always, keeping your knowledge up to date, because indeed every night they release like hundreds of new features and everything changes every day. It's one of the things that makes working in technology so interesting.
That's right.
Yeah, so
I agree. So they're the key points. It's a key differentiator because you're seen as someone that demonstrates this learning mindset, and as well, it's often a requirement when you enter organisations that you have accreditations before you can access their platforms. So in both ways, you're in a win-win situation. Now I'd just like to hand over to Sean with our last few minutes to give us a little bit of a highlight on the courses. So tell us tell us a little bit about those highlights.
So before I go into that, Rita, there was actually some questions that have come along. Do we want to answer that first before I go to this? Because a lot of them are quite specific to the Azure.
I think we've answered a lot of them in the chat. So we've put actual replies in.
Yeah.
But we'll make sure we'll answer them before we end. But have a go at telling us about these course highlights.
Okay, so this section, I guess, is when we were starting up the Data Innovation Hub, we kind of bolted along with the CIAIRI AI Skills Bootcamp, right? And one of the things that we want to introduce here is in part 2, where we've got seminar sessions where we're going to get industry experts to come in and talk to us about some of the practical aspects of working as a data scientist or in data analysis or data engineering, right? So if you look at week 1, 2, and 3, as a Data Innovation Hub placement student, we would actually like you to do 2 certifications, the fundamentals as well as the AI fundamentals or the data fundamentals, right? If you've already done the fundamentals, then let's have a discussion. Contact me and we can talk about which ones to do. But following on from the Azure certification, we're going to start some seminars. The first seminar will actually be starting on the Friday of week 3, and we're going to get a panel together of industry experts where you can actually bring questions and ask them questions about what it is like to work in the field of AI. What does their day-to-day job look like? What are some of your challenges, etc. Right? So that's the event there, and I think there's an Eventbrite link as well for you to register for that. And the people involved in that will be, we've got Nonna Milmeister, and she's our Chief Data Analytics Officer at RMIT. We've got Alex Antic, who's an adjunct associate professor with RMIT, but he's got a lot of industry experience as well that he will bring to this. We have Angela Kim, who's the head of analytics at Teachers Health, and also Ben Hutchinson, who's the researcher looking at AI at Google, right? So a lot of great speakers here on the panel, and I'll be chairing it with some questions to start us off. But obviously, I'll be opening up questions to all of you guys as well. And then following on from that, over the next few weeks, we're going to have a few different seminars that we've organized. We're going to have Eventbrite links for that setup as well, so that we can share that with you and you can register to come in for these seminars. And like I said, they're going to be practical-based seminars around what is it like to do data engineering in practice. What is it like to consider data governance, privacy, and ethics in practice? And what is it like to work in Agile, for example, using Agile practices in data and analytics? So some of these things we'll cover in a seminar series after that.
Thank you. And I've just got one last slide, and Michelle, you're happy to help me, but I love being able to demonstrate a lot of the stuff that you learn in the AI fundamentals, and a great way to do that is to install intelligent kiosks. So hopefully once you're finished, you'll be able to do things like celebrity match, this is what I'm doing here, or you'll be able to do form recognizer or a greeting kiosk or custom vision explorer. This is a great way to kind of be able to demonstrate your skills without having to build any complex apps. Michelle, did you want to add anything?
Oh yeah, I would say that the PWA app that I built with the Ewoks and the puppies, in fact, you can build that app in less than an hour, including training the machine learning. And so I just did that recently, demonstrated the whole build and the machine learning to an AI bootcamp in Mexico. And yeah, we did the whole session in an hour and had a new app standing up. So all of this stuff, it would have been so complex and so difficult to do, you know, when I started my career, but today there is, yeah, it teaches you how to be able to get directly into the meat of it, so you can use your domain expertise to really get into the research on the data science and not be slowed down because you don't have the tools to make it easy. And so this will really jumpstart your career and put you ahead of everyone else, because you're able to use tools and understand tools the industry is using, probably better than some of the people who are already in the workplace. So yeah, they're really good, really useful. I absolutely recommend doing all of them. You may not want to do all of them in this boot camp. You may want to concentrate on one at a time, especially if you've never done one before, so that you can get clarity as to the format of it and how easy it is. Yeah, I think I said in the chat, I did AI 900 and AI 100 the day after each other, because I think the associate builds on the knowledge of the fundamentals. But would I have done AI 900 and DP 900 in the same week? Probably not, because it's not related content. And yeah, I don't think that they're a waste of time doing them. I think they are really, really useful ones. And I have nearly all my fundamentals exams because I think they are very, very useful.
Well, thank you, Michelle. I love this idea of being able to leapfrog everyone when you start at work. So I look forward to meeting you all during the boot camp. Hope you all come along. We'll keep answering your questions. We're happy to stay online we'll try and answer some, actually. So I've got this one. Oh, I think someone's answered it already. Andy, that was the one. What could be some projects which we could do instantly after AI 900? AI 900 is the
fundamentals. Yeah, so you would have the skills to build that app that I made with the Ewoks, or
going back there.
It doesn't have to be that. You would have the skills to do some of this. So the object detection component that I built with the robot, you would have the skills to do that as well. Depends on how good your on how good your IoT skills are. So that's not part of this. That's not part of this component. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't do that well with Raspberry Pis and things like that, but I always ask my friends to come and help me with that component, and then we put it together to make stuff like this.
But given that they may have a feed of video, potentially they could do other things, given that the video is kind of taken care of.
There are so many projects that you could do. And yeah, it's just when you do the fundamentals courseway, it will give you a lot of ideas. And when you have ideas, there are definitely instructions on how to build other things around that. Microsoft, we are running a student accelerator. We run that every year. And you'll find out more about that when you come to the boot camp, because after you have finished this boot camp, I'll encourage you to join in with that, and then you can continue on your journey with a big community of students from across the country that are doing fundamentals exams, building portfolio projects, getting some extra stuff, some mentoring, some things like that. And yeah, it's a really good way to make sure that you are not alone on your journey as you continue. So yeah, come to the boot camp, and then I'll tell you more about the student accelerator at the end of that boot camp.
And you'll all right,
so fundamentals.
We're going to end the session, and we're really excited that you attended, and hope to see you at the bootcamp. Feel free to, this recording is going to be published, and feel free to keep asking any questions. We'll probably be able to still answer them. So thank you so much, Michelle. I'm pretty excited about this bootcamp coming up on the 31st, and I bet you are too. So we look forward to celebrating and having lots of graduates.
Absolutely. Looking forward to seeing you all there.
Oh, Andy, the one final question. All the sessions are going to be live, so you're not going to be listening during the boot camp. The sessions are live, but there are recorded sessions you can go to as well. Is that correct, Michelle?
I would hope, yeah. So I'm doing the AI Fundamentals prep class, and it's live. In the last one that I taught, everyone was very shy, and there were questions from the same students. Whereas I want to encourage you, if you are in that live session, to ask your questions, whether you put it in the chat or whether you say it out loud. I don't mind. But yeah, I'm going to be there in real life. I know
we're going to be fully alive, and we're not going to be avatars at this stage. We're working on it though, aren't we? All right, we'll see you everyone, and can't wait to see you at the boot camp. And thank you, Andy and Sean, for joining us, and thank you, Michelle, for showing us your cool robot and your Ewoks, and we look forward to working with you more. Ciao.
See you soon.